Hey folks, so On Mars is a cool game, but man, can it be overwhelming on your first playthrough. Well, that's why I'm here. I'm going to give you some tips that are going to help you out on your first game so that you can really feel like you're playing and not just trying to keep up with everybody else. So let's get started. There are a lot of different things going on in this game, and while you'll eventually interact with most of them, trying to keep all of them in your head at once is, in my opinion, a real easy way to get lost in the weeds. Instead, here are a couple things to focus on in the early game. First off, what types of buildings are next to you and what LSS rewards are attached to those types of buildings? For example, if you're right next to the water building and building water buildings gets you points for how many shelters you have, that's giving you an idea of something to focus on. If you have any secret objectives or if any of the public ones align with either of those things, that's great too. This game is all about efficiency, so you really want to keep an eye out for any of those potential combos that you can spot. Just don't narrow your focus too much. Being able to react to the board state is more important than choosing a strategy early on and sticking to it. That's because scoring from a variety of sources is often just better than focusing on just one. So while it's a good idea to start by seeing what's available, after the first few rounds, you need to be preparing for any possibility that might pop up. And you can do this by picking up resources that you don't have from the warehouse, choosing blueprints that will give you a variety of benefits, and picking up technologies that will help you out long term. Speaking of, while every technology is useful, some of them are just going to be more so than others. And having players use your tech is a pretty good position to be in. In my opinion, the rover tech is going to be needed by everybody, so if you can pick it up early, do it. And the shuttle tech is also very good. While none of the technologies are bad, you might want to figure out what looks important to other players before picking up any of those other technologies, because getting others to subsidize your advancement is always preferable to boosting it yourself. The best scientists are ones that are going to get you free executive actions and score you points. And picking up a scientist early might be tempting, but you don't want to grab one just because you can afford it. Once you hire a scientist, other players are going to notice, and then they're probably going to focus less on building those advanced buildings that you're going to get points from. So you want to make sure you're going to get at least some usage out of it. And then once you've grabbed the scientist and you're choosing contracts, obviously you want to put one down that you might be able to score and that other players can't anytime soon. Delivery contracts are really good, a good way to deal with excess resource generation, whereas upgrade contracts are best if you've already achieved it, or are at least pretty close to doing so. But you don't want to plan too far out, because at first the game feels so expansive. It feels like you have all the time in the world. But when things get moving, it can wrap up quicker than you might think. In general, you don't want to make plans that are too long term, especially if they're visible to other players. Rushing the endgame is a viable strategy, so you need to be aware that it can happen, or maybe look to do it yourself. When there's only one tick left on the mission tracker, you've probably only got a couple turns left, so score what you can and don't take on any big risks. And those are my top 5 beginner strategy tips for On Mars. I hope to help you out with your first game any other time you play. And I've got a few links in the description box below for all the sources that I used to help me write this video. They go into a little bit more detail than I did, so check those out if you're interested. And if you have any of your own strategy advice, especially for new players, please leave them in the comments below. My viewers are often way smarter than me about this kind of stuff, so definitely go and check that out. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.